Yo, what's happening?
Yo,
Oh,
what's up,
we
bro?
good. What's
Yes,
happening, man?
sir.
We live, man. Welcome, you know what I'm saying? Podcast where we talk about stuff, black people
Yeah.
stuff. You know, I'm working on like a better intro, like a good one. You know what I mean? We were talking about that, everything that I have to work on, and stuff like
Right.
that. But I'm working on a little intro thing, So, I get
Yeah,
it squared away.
the
Get it squared.
showmanship, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We was chatting, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, what's going on?
Man, I'm like, hey, man, I'm happy.
Oh yeah.
Our birds, they
Hey,
got one in.
hey, they snuck
Yeah.
one. Hey, look, they snuck one in, man. They snuck one in because, man, that whole game, I'm like, what in the world is going on, man? This is
Man.
trash. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I was just like, oh man, this is just too much. I didn't understand the offensive, the game plan, even though they talked about it afterwards, and it kind of made sense. But it's like, yo, that wasn't working, man.
Look, I didn't start to watch the game until third quarter because I was running around.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came in, and I seen him give the ball to Miles Sanders, and I'm sitting here like he looked like he was in La La Land, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, man, I know it's been some film on how he's not hitting the holes correctly,
Mm-hmm.
and he's running directly into men instead of finding the holes and getting behind his blocks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap, man, what is going on? Because
Yeah.
the Panthers, I'm gonna tell you, they should have ran away with the game, right?
They should have ran away with the game, man. I don't know what happened with Darnold and Willie. Like Willie saying, yeah, man, that game was just gross on both sides of the ball, man. I don't know what the Panthers were doing. They should have ran the ball the whole game. But they just for some reason stopped running the ball and made some silly decisions on third that fake field goal punt thing. Like I didn't
Yeah,
understand. I didn't understand any of that, man. Is the whole game was just I was just sitting there like, oh my gosh, let's just get to the end of this, man. This is and then the fourth
yeah,
quarter, the Eagles pulled it out, man. But man, but the thing I liked about Jalen Hurts, man, because they asked him a question about the offense or something,
hmm
in the interview, and he's like, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the defense. You know,
yeah,
and that's one thing I like about Jalen, man. Jalen puts things in perspective.
yeah,
He still got some work to do, in the off season, but it is it's you know that's what it is, man. Nah. We gonna talk about this for a little bit, Willie. It's gonna come at the expense of your Panthers, dog. They should have won, man. They should have won, man. I don't know how the Eagles pulled that off, man. That
we're
was
gonna
that
let
was
this
crazy.
sting for a little bit for the Carolina fans.
Yeah, man, oh man, and then my neighbor, right? So my neighbor, man, he had a double whammy this weekend. He's a Bama fan and he's a Panther fan. So
Oh man,
he's feeling it, man. He's feeling it, man. So but yeah, man. So we're gonna chat about the Facebook thing and the Chappelle. Talk about Chappelle and whatever else after that. But of course, everybody know Facebook shut down for like for a day or so.
yeah,
And it was interesting. It suspiciously shut down after the whistleblower went to Congress, and talked about Facebook and its algorithms, and
hmm
we had a conversation about algorithms and stuff like that. So it's not anything that was surprising to me. I don't know. What
yeah.
about you?
No, I wasn't surprised. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because we already had ex Facebook employees, and especially minorities, right, were
Mm-hmm.
already spilling the beans about the racism. It was already a lawsuit, I think, in 2018 or 19 that happened from a couple black employees talking about the racism and how they tried to go through the chain of command, and then it got like to Mark Zuckerberg, and basically he didn't even respond. Like like the algorithm is exactly what that company is, or what this nation is. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? It's built off of more racism.
mm.
That is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I mean, again, is it wasn't surprising. Like the whole point was that hey, oh, Facebook created this machine that pretty much feeds off of people's negativity, right? Like like that's not surprising. Like I think a lot of the commentary from a lot of people, man, was like like they expect these companies to be moral, right? To have a moral
Right,
compass. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And that's not it. Like if you read, what I mean, I just read who's that? Karl Marx and John Engels,
Oh,
communist manifesto, right?
manifesto.
And in
Yeah,
it, right, and in it, they're talking about how corporations, right, their main driver is for profits,
it's
right?
capital.
So, right, it's for capital. So, however there's going to be exploitation. There's
Right.
going to be some sort of exploitation. Look, if you want to be a millionaire, you aren't going to get there without exploiting. So whether you're exploiting people's time, whether you're
Mhm.
exploiting resources, and in the case of social media, social media exploits how people interact. You know what I'm saying? That's the exploitations, so, you know, um, so I wasn't too surprised about what came out, during that hearing or anything like that, when it came to that. But I think that people don't understand, not connecting that Facebook is all about their money. That's it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they use you, So, but yeah, man.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think people should have been really shocked, right?
Hmm.
Especially when it came to like the younger kids, what they were seeing, the depression in younger kids when they talked
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Facebook and Instagram and so forth. Like I been stopped dealing with Instagram, right? Because
Hmm.
me personally, watching somebody constantly put on filters and stuff like that, like I'm not one of those vain people where I need you to be, you know, need the female to always have on makeup and her hair done. Like
Hmm.
that, as Kendrick Lamar say, man, stretch marks, man. I need to
Yeah,
see the
yeah.
stretch marks. You, you know what I'm saying? Like I,
Yeah.
I, I understood at that moment, like the problem is we watch a lot of women participate in the very depression with
Hmm.
when it comes to social media.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's just tied to what they've been saying about the beauty industry for 20, 30 years.
Hmm.
That people have an image of what beauty is when in all actuality, there's really no, there's really no definition of what real beauty is.
Beauty is an eye to the beholder,
It,
right?
yes.
It's what, I mean, it's like art, man. People find different things art, what I mean?
Yeah.
But the one, I guess, nefarious thing that Facebook was doing, they were deliberately, deliberately directing, and this, from, when in 2016 people were talking to, people were talking about all the Russian misinformation, and look, it shows how short of a memory we got as Americans. You know what I'm saying? Because in 2016, if people remember, especially when it came to black people, there were Russian groups setting up fake black Facebook groups and
Hmm.
putting out a lot of propaganda and misinformation.
Hmm.
Um, Now that didn't happen this time around with the whole COVID thing that's going on. You know what I'm saying? But Facebook, their algorithm was or is responsible for pushing a lot of misinformation on purpose because people respond to that misinformation. People
Hmm.
respond to all the negativity more than anything, right? One of black people's favorite websites was built on this, right? World Star. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It was built on a, what I mean? Like people flock to
Negativity.
hey, it was flock because of the negativity, right?
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people, visited World Star, because when it's negative, people respond to it. Kind of like what we're gonna get with the Chappelle thing. You know what I'm saying? When people
Mhm.
view it as a negative, people flock to it more. They'll be like, "Oh, I gotta see I gotta
Right.
see." You know what I mean? It's like people running towards gunshots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, but the conversation is about people expecting these entities like Facebook and Twitter and these other social media apps to have a moral compass. They are tied to their profits, man. They're tied to their profits, and that means they're going to exploit you. How, but the exploitation is how you use it, right? You are free to use, right? Facebook's not telling you to click on that false story. Facebook's not telling you to click on those things, but that information can get pushed to you, right? That's how Instagram works. It pushes information to you. You know what I mean? If you continuously click on this one thing, image or video, it's going to show you more images and videos that's similar to that, and eventually it leads you to it leads
It,
people to believe in crazy stuff.
yeah, you know what's crazy as you explain it, right? What's going through my mind is right. It's the so it's the perception of what freedom is, right?
Hmm.
So so yeah, you have the freedom to go on Facebook, right?
Hmm.
And yet there you click on something, you took your freedom to click on something, but then your freedoms get manipulated.
They get manipulated. Right, 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 right.
So it's this false sense of what freedom is when you're dealing with any corporation.
Hmm.
Because again, this is where exploitation comes in at.
Hmm.
It gives you a sense of being having a choice.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, well, why can't you get another job?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
well, it's because when I went to this high school, it had no skills to really offer me when it was just telling me about George Washington and
Hmm.
and I was just learning math and English
Right.
where it didn't translate into the real world.
The
Like
real world.
it's all of these things that played out with Facebook.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, man. It's it again, like you saying, you have the freedom to use Facebook as you choose, you know what I mean? But understand that Facebook and Instagram, because Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp are all one company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be another part of the conversation. I think that it's a little more important, and people need to be more in tune to, what I mean, or where this where social media needs to go. But you as the consumer have the choice of how you use these platforms, how you
Yeah.
consume. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people who push a lot of misinformation wouldn't have these platforms if people just didn't visit it. Like, that's just
Right.
that's just what it is. And Facebook wouldn't have to manipulate people to these different things, all these negative things, and misinformation, if people didn't click on it, or if people were a little more educated on it. You know what I'm saying? But and this is where we see the polarization in our politics. This is
Mm-hmm.
where we see the polarization with masks
Mm-hmm.
and vaccines and
Mm-hmm.
everything like that, man. Like, all of it is connected, man. you know
It's crazy because I was listening to a video on Facebook, and
hmm
this guy he was a so-called doctor. I didn't have a chance to Google his name,
hmm
but he's talking about he's outraged about the vaccine mandates and so forth, and he's using buzzwords like tyranny and all of these different buzzwords, right?
hmm
And so I make a comment. And I say, well, here we go again, where you're talking about people pushing fear, but your whole message is around fear,
right, right,
being scared of some government entity doing something to you to oppress you.
right.
And I was just like, it's not true. You have a choice to go get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. Like,
Hmm.
wear a mask, don't wear a
Wear a
mask.
mask.
But
Yeah.
it all comes with consequence, and the
Right. Right.
consequence is you may die.
Right. Right.
It's just that is just what the facts are. You may die, but you don't want to talk about that consequence.
Right. Right. Or the
You,
consequence that look, COVID gonna be around forever
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
it's gonna be around forever because
yeah.
all
And
this
they're
misinformation and
replacing,
everything.
right, and they're
Hmm.
replacing that freedom of choice mixed with consequences with freedom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they're dismissing consequences and saying, "Oh, well, freedom." Well, yeah, they're giving you the freedom, the choice to either make a choice to protect yourself and live, or gamble and die.
Right. 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 Right.
And like, and the guy emailed me and said, do you mind if I use your inbox to contact you for if anything, any questions or whatever. I said no.
Nah, man. Nah. 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 Nah.
No, no,
Nah. 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 Nah.
I don't need no information from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, because I did, like I said, man. Facebook. Um, you know the other part of the other part of the conversation is like, okay, cool, yeah, you had a look, you had the whistleblower said something, but okay, what does it make Facebook flinch? Yeah, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. You know what I'm saying? But that other part of the conversation is, okay, when do we, when does the government say that, hey man, this entity or these corporations are doing harm, right?
Hmm.
It's the whole reason we got the EPA, right? Because the government said that, hey, look, we went to these chemical plants, right? The oil industry and all these, the DuPonts and everybody who make chemicals, and was like, hey, we tried to get you guys to do the right thing by the environment, but you're poisoning people's water. You know what I mean? You still painting people's houses with lead paint. You know what I mean? And things of that nature. Pig farms too close to residential areas and stuff.
Hmm.
So the government said, hey, look, we're going to create the EPA because you guys as a entity are not going to do what's right,
Right.
by the people. You know what I'm saying? And so, the other part of the question is like, does the government do something with all of these social platforms to create, some sort of regulatory agency? You know what I'm saying?
So we already have a regulatory agency, right? The
Hmm.
FCC and the SCC, right?
But they only regulate the airwaves.
Right, right. So,
Hmm.
so now it's just really, do you modify the
Oh, I
policies,
got you. I got you. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, to regulate online media
Right. Do,
as,
do you
as well?
encompass, like, put that underneath, like, hey, all right, well, we're going to create regulatory. If you're going to have online media you need to follow these rules here in America. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So, and then the other thing is, do you roll back the Bill Clinton uh, FCC policy that loosen up what actual news and information really is?
Oh no, that was under Reagan. I know what you're
Was
talking
it
about.
on?
Yeah, that was under
Oh,
Reagan. That was the shoot, I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of it, but go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
no,
Yeah,
no. So
I'm
if it
pretty
was
sure it
on,
was under Reagan.
so if it was under Reagan,
Hmm.
Clinton also loosened more regulations of where we went to
Right.
um, conglomerates of
Hmm.
news to own pretty much most of the news. So yes,
Hmm.
um, but my point is that's the other question that they have to ask themselves, right?
Hmm.
Because this is how Fox News got out of control. This is how you get uh, OWN. This is how
Hmm.
you get like all of these different other news places that really don't report news,
Hmm.
because they don't send people out in the field. CNN, during some reporting, right? Uh, they made a statement saying about the cost of sending news reporters to the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so they wanted to cut costs. Again, they got to report to board members. Here we go, capital playing the part of being more important than actually making people informed to make the
Mm-hmm.
right decisions in society. They chose capital. So we're gonna have Don Lemon to do a report on something, but he's not gonna go down there and talk to anybody. He's
Right,
going to
right, right.
gather as much information as he can, and then he's just going to speak about it, and it just becomes an opinion piece. Opinion apiece. So that's the issue that I think that they're going to have to address at some point of time.
Mm-hmm. And the piece of what you were talking about was the fairness doctrine.
Okay.
Yeah, so the fairness doctrine said that, hey, if you're going to present an issue, you need to have people on both sides of the issue. You can't just
Mm-hmm.
present an issue and then just, and then, you can't have, the Alex Joneses of the world, people just putting out
Yeah.
misinformation. And that ended under Reagan. And and Bill Clinton, what he did was pretty much created what you were saying, created partisan, you know, media, platforms. But it goes, like, but you know, I mean, it goes ask the question whether we believe that social media is more harmful than it is good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then what do we do about it? I think at time, I think it'd be harmful when people are in their space, in their own
Mm-hmm.
bubble. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I think that causes harm, right? But I think when people obviously use it for, to promote their business, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
to have conversations, you know what I mean, then it can be good. It becomes almost like a double-edged sword, almost, um, you know, but I mean, it's going to be interesting. But it's also, you talk about the monopolization of social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram used to be its own entity. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So, the government allowed Facebook to buy up Instagram, to buy up, WhatsApp, and and there you have it. And at one point they had Vine, right? One
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
they had at one point they had Vine, so they had all the social media stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. I don't, yeah. Again, like I looked at that government thing like, okay, y'all can have this all you want, but until you do something, like what are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but yeah, I don't know.
No, well, after like listening to the whole entire hearing, right, and I was listening
Hmm.
to it, it was compelling.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah,
the stuff
yeah.
that she was really just laying out there, and she was forthcoming. If she didn't know something, she let them know. Like I don't know, that wasn't my expertise, and so forth. Um, but for them, the strangest thing was for them to reach out to Mark Zuckerberg and
Hmm.
his team,
Hmm.
and for them to know that Mark Zuckerberg was on a yacht that day. They had to be told that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they all kept making this comment. He decided to be out on his yacht today, and so forth, so forth. And it's just like that. See, here again, we have a government with no teeth,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and the
If
government
you wanted
is,
them there, you would just subpoena them and then go arrest them
yeah,
and bring them
yeah,
in. But you know what I mean?
correct,
You know,
correct.
but Mark Zuckerberg's a billionaire, so they ain't gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna do.
Capital.
It's capitalism, man. Like so again, you ain't gonna do that, right?
Yeah,
So again, it's a dog and pony show. I didn't,
yeah.
yeah, dog and pony show at the end of the day, man. But yeah, man. Yeah, but you know, people still gonna use the platforms, and it all comes down to how you consume it. Stay away from the negativity. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Especially when it comes to the COVID and the mask and the vaccine, and most definitely stay away from all the anti-blackness that goes on in these platforms. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And do your own homework, man. Read, man. That's how you protect yourself from all the misinformation. Do your homework. Don't study. do homework. You know what I'm saying? That's my other annoying thing. People like, when it comes to the vaccine, oh, I need to study. Man, you ain't gonna study.
Yeah.
You're not doing some peer reviewed. You're not doing peer review. You're not out here in the labs creating a vaccine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You aren't testing the vaccine. You aren't doing a study, man. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Like, no, like just say, hey man, I just need to do my homework. Homework means you getting information, man.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
kills me, man. People like, oh man, yeah, I do my homework,
Yeah.
man.
It was
I
a
need to study.
gentleman. Yeah, it was a gentleman. He was an anti-vaxxer, right? He found me on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know how this guy even got in my comments, but it must have been a public comment
Mm-hmm.
that I made on on a personal post of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So then he just jumps in my inbox because he didn't want to say in my comments something that will flag Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then he's in my messenger, and he's sending me all of this crazy videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it was about like anti-vaccination stuff, like anti-mask, and he shows me this one this one video of this so-called, she was a doctor, that's what she said,
Mm-hmm.
but she's looking at so-called COVID on a tray with blood, it's supposed to be active blood and so forth, under a microscope and on her dining room table.
Mm-hmm.
And she's explaining and she's saying the cells are moving, right? And I'm sitting here looking and I'm like, man, that looked like a still shot to me. And he's
Yeah.
sitting here saying, "Oh, this video is true," and the guy that's recording is saying it's true. And I was like, one mistake that is made is she's in a living room with a
Mm-hmm.
virus, a
Right.
so-called virus, if this is true,
Yeah. In the living room.
in a living room, not a clean
Mm-hmm.
room. If anybody worked in a clean room before, they understand why you're in a clean room, because what she's doing, it has contaminants.
Right, because she's contaminating it. There's contaminants in the room
Bing,
she's in. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bingo. And
Yeah.
it's just like that never registered to the guy.
No, because it's more about it's more about proving, validating what it is beliefs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And that's all the negativity is. It just validates your beliefs. You know what I'm saying? That's why it gets pushed. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's why Facebook can push it, because you're so concerned about validating your beliefs rather than actually learning something, right? And being open to having your beliefs challenged. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And again, when people get in these bubbles, man, they just want everybody to be in these bubbles, man. And I'm a person, look, I was hesitant on the vaccine too, but I did my homework, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And realized, like, look, man, it was the best. It was the best choice, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And most definitely I see the stuff people post on Facebook and I'm just like, yo, like, yeah, and I just bypass it, man,
yeah. It's
because I know if
wild.
I keep clicking it, then I know it's going to show up more.
And you just closed out and said exactly what his closing statement was.
Mm-hmm.
I got 14.7 million viewers on my stream because he's a podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you thought you were going to get me
Mm-hmm.
to
Get some more.
just say okay
Right.
and not challenge anything that you say and have you answer. So he said in one comment, he said, "You mean to tell me that a virus traveled 3,000 miles from China to America?" I said, "You think that's how viruses work? It
How
just sat back
viruses
and
work?
get on it." I said, "Sat back and just get on the plane and just
Yeah.
fly over."
Yeah, like the virus is calling up American
Yeah,
Airlines, like, hey, look, man, my credit card ain't working.
I
I'm
need to
trying to
book a
book a,
ticket.
I'm trying to book a ticket to America, man. I'm trying to book a ticket, man. This luggage, I'm trying to bring some luggage too, man. This luggage is too much,
I
like,
said, "Oh my
hey,
gosh,
how
man."
viruses work, you fool.
Bro. And then his other comment to that was, you know, if that, I don't know how you came to that conclusion. I said, because that's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was just like, But you can't tell me that, he went back to his original statement that, how did it get over here? And I said, it needed a host. The
As
virus
most
needed a
viruses do.
host, a person.
As most viruses do, man. But that's
Yeah.
this how. But again, this is how all the like all these things like Facebook. There's no face. So that's what they were saying in the hearing. There's no
Mhm.
parameters that Facebook has in place or will put in place to stop those type of things, stop those type of
Yes.
messages from being, sent out. You know what I'm saying? Because the other point of this other part of this conversation is that how Americans are low information, man, low
Yeah.
information, we're low context, you know what I'm saying, so it doesn't take a lot to
Mhm.
convince people on things, man, you know what I'm saying, like hey, look, at the beginning of the season my birds and our Eagles beat the Falcons. Look, I was screaming playoffs, man, but after them other three games, you like, ooh man, you know what? Let me go back to my 6 wins. We gonna go back to 6 wins, man. You know what I'm
Got to
saying?
come back to reality.
Because it requires context.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
requires context, man. Everything requires context. And a lot of our conversations, there's no context because this person can just get on, I seen another interview where, a person, you know, said, "Oh, I looked at the conference and they're using all this medical, terminology and things of that nature, but they aren't a doctor. You know what I'm saying? They aren't a doctor.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They just read a book and used terminology. You know what I mean? I love history, but I would never call myself a historian. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even
Right.
though I could probably sit in a room with historians and have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a lot of stuff like that going on. But anyway, yeah, man. Look, Facebook's going to make money. That's what they are beholden to, making profits, and they are going to exploit you to make those profits. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Facebook is good. Instagram has its good and it has its bad. You know what I'm saying? And the government needs to just figure out where that line is, especially when kids. And that was the other part in that congressional hearing. Because if people remember, Facebook was supposed to be for people over like 18. You had to be like
Yeah.
18 to sign up or something like that. You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean? But now, kids have accounts and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
it is about protecting individuals. And Google is the same way. Google same way. If you use YouTube,
Hmm.
YouTube is Google, and the same
Yeah.
search engine that gets used in Google, they use it for YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, and YouTube tracks everything on you. They track how you use everything. You know what I'm saying? When you use their search engine and stuff like that. Again, exploitation, man. That's what
Right.
they're
Right.
about, man. But anyway, yeah, man. You know, move on to this Chappelle thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
man.
yeah. Did you have any last comments about the Facebook thing?
Man, ain't no comments. It's all
Yeah.
about the money, baby.
Yeah, it's all about the money, man. All about the money. Yeah, man. I guess Chappelle, he's in been in hot water. I guess being canceled, being challenged about his special. Now I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. You know what I'm saying? But I'll watch it eventually. I'm just now watching Afro Samurai, so I don't know. I'll catch up. I haven't even seen Tiger King, so I don't know. I don't know, man. I'll catch up on it eventually. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just found it interesting how a comedian that tells jokes, um, you know, uh, where that line is. I don't know. You've seen it, right?
I did see it.
All right. So what was your thoughts on it?
Man, look, I first have to say I'm going to stamp that he is the GOAT.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He is he is Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Red Fox. Like, man, you can go down. He is all of them balled in one.
Mm-hmm,
He is such a great narrator,
mm-hmm. Storyteller, yeah.
storyteller,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and he put it in more of a human, like he's talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Just a regular conversation. And I think what people are afraid of when it comes to Dave Chappelle is because he can communicate very well in a basic manner.
Mm-hmm.
and still make you laugh about the insanity
Mm-hmm.
of our own thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
that that will then start to make you think
Mm-hmm.
how messed up we are as just humans around the world,
Right,
and
right,
just
right,
how
right.
we view things.
How we view things. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of got into how at a point of time, he didn't believe, talking about like some of his LGBT jokes from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that he do now. And
Mm-hmm.
then he did it in a manner explaining that, hey, at this point of time, it was acceptable
Mm-hmm.
to talk in this manner.
Yeah.
But now I have to change what my pronouns are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
he had a
In
joke.
order to respect people's their
Yeah, yeah,
identity, right? There are people.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he was talking, in a sense, just saying we all have to, change with
Mm-hmm.
time. But to sit back and say, oh, well, 10 years ago, X, Y, Z said such and such, and it's just like, well, yeah, but are they saying it today?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because he pointed out the Kevin Hart situation
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. I'm like, yeah, Kevin Hart ain't the same person that he was like 10 years ago.
Right, right, right.
You know what
And we have to notice that about people, like when people aren't the same. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Steve
When they.
Bannon,
Hmm.
Steve Bannon is the same
He's the same.
from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. He's the same person.
It's the
He's the
same
same person.
person.
Yeah, he's the same
But
person.
we don't go and ban him.
Mm-hmm.
We go and
Mm-hmm.
ban Kevin Hart though.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and
We
that's the
try.
point that he was making.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was
That's
just
true
like,
though, man.
wow.
I think that point is true, man. And how we have to, yeah, we have to allow people to change and adapt, man. Our society is always changing and always adapt. You know what I'm saying? Always adapting. You know what I mean? That's probably why we have a lot of racial issues. Not probably, but
Hmm.
it is why we have a lot of racial issues in this country because people won't allow other groups of people to have their own identity. You know what I mean? And accept that, hey, people are different. You know what I mean? They're
Hmm.
different, and I need to respect their differences and how they choose to identify and what needs to be said and not said. Then I need to respect that. You know what I'm saying? It's like the N word. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
like, look, I don't say it too much, but I would never tell another black person not to say it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And then, nor should anybody outside of the black community tell black people what you can and can't say. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Um, you know, uh, um, so yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand that aspect of it. Um, but yeah, I need to see it. But from the clips that I seen, I was just like, I don't understand what the uproar is. You know what I'm saying? I think that people are just being overly sensitive.
Hmm.
About it. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think people are just being overly sensitive about it. You know, that's just
So
me.
he also, within the storytelling, because spoiler alert, the whole comedy was really about the LGBT, right,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
the racism within the
Hmm.
LGBT. That's
Oh,
what
there.
that's what
Yeah.
the whole skit was really
Yeah.
about.
And there's
And then,
people who will tell you that it exists
yeah,
in the LGBTQ community. You know what I'm
and
saying?
and he also tied it into with even the racism, you have the dislike of transgenders.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and you know LGBTQ. Some people even openly say that. And
I've had conversation with people who were in the military about it. You know what I mean? They were part of the LGBTQ community, man, but they would
hmm
go in on trans people.
hmm
And you're like, what? And especially like when Trump, did his ban for the military for trans people. Like
yeah,
there were gay people I knew, like they were going in. They were going in.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
and
um It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where he was masterful, right? So he told five different stories of
Mm-hmm.
different events, none of them tied to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you watch Dave Chappelle and if you're a fan of Dave Chappelle, this is where his mastery comes in.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, he tied all of those things together. And then, you
Mm-hmm.
know, he talked about also how, um, like, who was it? Oh my goodness! Oh, what was this joke? The feminist, the feminist. So
Mm-hmm.
his his non-understanding about being a feminist and so forth, that he had to go research the definition and found
Mm-hmm.
out like you didn't have to just be a woman to be a feminist. You could
Right.
just so
Mm-hmm.
this one, you know, one lady, you know, she was from the LGBT community, and you know, she heard from media that he was transphobic and so forth, so forth. So, you know, he's telling the story and just like, well, he told jokes, but if, you know, if you listen all to the end, it was in defense of at least the transgenders.
Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so he touched on social media
Mm-hmm.
and the media on how they use these buzzwords and keywords, and everybody just go around and just repeats those words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, man, he was just so masterful, and it was like you found yourself, you know. I laughed at
Yeah.
a few things, but Dave does this to you, right? Where you'll laugh, and then like he'll go into something else, and you just start to listen because you know he's not telling a you know he's telling a story, but you know it's not a joke,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're almost like you're learning from a teacher,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so you end up just listening.
Yeah, and that's where you the Pryor comparison good because I like to watch old Pryor, Richard Pryor, man, and Richard Pryor was good at that, man. He was good at even though a lot of his jokes were about his life, but he was like giving like lessons, you know what I mean, like within it, and he was very good at storytelling, man. Just weaving the joke through, you know what I mean, and it's
Hmm.
just Pryor's mannerisms is what made the joke funny all the way
Yeah.
through, you know what I mean. But so you'll miss a lot of those gems that he would drop in there. Paul Mooney was good at that too, man.
Oh yeah.
George Carl, yeah, George Carlin was
Hmm.
good at that. You know what I'm saying? Of being able to weave the lessons, especially when he's talking about politics and social commentary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, which made me think about George Carlin because I remember George Carlin told a joke where he drops the N bomb. You know what I mean? But I don't,
Hmm.
it didn't cause a big uproar. He couldn't tell that joke today for sure.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell that joke, even though like what he said was it's not out of bounds. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
just the word he said is out of bounds. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So I think that's probably where people are at with Chappelle. I don't know. Would you agree with that?
Um, Looking at the online comments and stuff like that, like kind of trying to follow this story.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same old group
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
outraged, but majority of people are not.
Are
So
not. Yeah.
so if it was a
Mm-hmm.
poll that was taken, the outraged people would be the smallest people.
Right. 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 Right.
You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? But they will
Mm-hmm.
also align themselves with Trump.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you kind of really got down to the nitty gritty of everything, right? And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and Dave Chappelle touched on this also in the joke,
Mm-hmm.
because this is the problem with our current society.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you have the feminist movement, but yet black voices are not important. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Latino voices are not important.
They have to be like separated from from within the family. I think Tamika Mallory touched on that Tamika
Hmm.
Mallory and the Hispanic lady I follow on Twitter. She was part of the Women's March. I can't remember her name right now. Um, and I don't want to butcher it, but I think that they touched on that part, how they had to, as they were uh, uh, putting together the Women's March, they had
Hmm.
to remind their white counterparts, like, hey, look, y'all are pushing black voices and Hispanic and Latino voices and other and trans voices to the side. What I mean? Like, they're like always had to keep bringing it up and bringing it up. What I mean? So yeah. I gotta find that interview, but because it was a good interview listening to me. I always love listening to Meek Mallory speak. Um, you know, but it was a good interview.
Yeah, yeah, and he used a line, and I can't remember this black woman's names. And when the feminist movement got started,
Hmm.
she had to remind all of the feminist white women,
Hmm.
"Ain't I a woman too?"
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
she had to keep on repeating, "Ain't I a woman too?"
Hmm.
Because
That
she
was
would talk.
Ain't I a Woman is a speech by
Hmm.
Sojourner Truth.
I I want to say that you're right. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's see if we can pull that up. But it's important to the conversation, right? Um, because here again, the co-oping that
Hmm.
happens in our society, no matter on what that oppression is,
Hmm.
it's the co-oping by one group
Hmm. Hmm.
that keeps showing up every single time.
Hmm.
And Dave Chappelle was laying this all out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was Sojourner Truth. Ain't I a Woman?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That speech is like considered like one of the top five, top 10 speeches like ever given.
yeah, it was
But Ida B.
powerful.
Wells had the same. Ida B. Wells had the same issue too when it came to voting rights for Black women.
Hmm.
How Susan B. Anthony, how
Hmm.
she didn't. She's like, yeah, we're not fighting for voting rights for Black women. We're
Yeah,
fighting for voting rights for white women. Y'all get to the back.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah, man. And women like Ida B. Wells had to like we're gonna join it whether you like it or not. You know
So
what I'm
he
saying?
mentioned Ida B. Wells
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
stand up.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so he's telling all of these stories, man. And this is again, man, this is why I always
Hmm.
take my hat off and listen to Dave Chappelle, because
Hmm.
he's dropping nuggets for you.
Yeah, yeah. Breadcrumbs, like
Yeah,
Hunter
just
used to say.
breadcrumbs,
Like you used
man.
to say. Breadcrumbs,
Yeah.
man. You gotta follow the breadcrumbs, man.
And he's going to say something in a very common manner that will then make you laugh, because
Hmm.
you heard people say what he just said,
Right, 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 right.
and so you chuckle and you laugh about it, even though you know that that thought needs to morph or blossom into different ways of thinking.
Hmm. Yeah.
And man, how he was doing, actually all of his stand-ups for Netflix were this way.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, they are. Yeah, yeah. Especially the one when he was telling people not to watch the Chappelle show until he got
Yeah,
paid. Yeah, he kind of did the same
yeah,
thing where he told the story,
yeah.
and it was kind of funny, or funny in between it.
Hmm.
But it was it was funny, man. The best comedians can do that, man. I won't say best comedian, but people who can do that. They're pretty good, man. Pretty good,
Hey,
pretty good at that craft, man. Because I think the world, it has to be. We are speaking of like Facebook, man. One thing that I seen somebody say like like we're memeified. You know what I'm saying? Like
mm,
if information don't come in a meme, people ain't gonna read it. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And also if information come in a meme, people believe it is true. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we have to have individuals like Dave Chappelle who can slice through all of that, while also educating people. Because at the end of the day, the reason why you get on Facebook or Instagram or whatever other social media app is because you want to be entertained. And that's why you go see
Hmm.
Dave Chappelle.
Hmm.
So it's good that Dave Chappelle. Another person who's good at that is Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is good
Oh
at that
yeah.
too, man. Trevor Noah is good at telling the story and
Hmm.
being able to parse through a lot of social commentary and social events and things of that nature. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, man. I need to watch it, man. I
Well,
need to
he
watch
he ended by saying, "How are you going to cancel a person who walked away from $50 million?"
it. That's true.
I said,
That's true.
"Whoa, how you going to get?"
That's true,
It's
man.
true.
That's true,
He's
man.
satisfied on where he's at.
Yeah, yeah, man. And like we were talking about, exploitation, man. Look, Dave Chappelle's job is to bring you to Netflix. That's what his
Hmm.
job is. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So if that means it's got to be controversial, then it's got to be controversial. You know what I'm saying? Or a topic that you don't like. You know what I mean? But his job is to bring you to Netflix, man.
All right.
So you click on Netflix and uh, uh, you view it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Anything else, man? Roaming around.
No, man. I just think,
Yeah,
yeah, spend some time watching that Dave Chappelle, man, and
yeah.
really check out his art. Really
Mm-hmm,
check that
hmm.
out.
Yeah, I'll check it out, man. There was one other thing. I don't know if I want to talk, but I guess I'll talk about it. I guess Sage should still got suspended from
Oh,
ESPN.
Lord.
You seen that saga that's going on, the video and whatnot?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
she,
man.
so she was originally out for COVID,
Yeah, her
and
COVID response. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so then she said something while she was out with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and they were thinking about suspending her, but she was
Mm-hmm.
already out with COVID. So
Yeah,
then she said something else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what she said was, so she's on a podcast or whatever, and they're talking about identity and how she doesn't have to, or she didn't want to identify as being black, and she thought it was weird or something, and that she like it was weird on the census or something like that,
Hmm.
that there was that she had to check the black, check box or something like that, and she was talking about Obama and how Obama identifies as being black, and then brought in, and she like brought up his dad, and I don't understand, and she was like, I don't understand how, he considers himself black when his black dad wasn't in his life, and it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? None of it, that last comment really what got her
Yeah.
into a lot of hot water
When,
because it didn't, that didn't have to do with anything. You know what
when
I'm
he
saying?
was raised by a white mother and a white, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Like,
What?
it's not even what that guy was even
That's not
asking you.
right, right. It's not even what I'm saying. But it just goes into the Say's still just one of those individuals where she is just she just don't like being black. You know what I mean? She knows
Yeah.
and she's by quote unquote biracial.
Hmm.
Race is not a real thing, but anyway. But she's bi, racial or whatever. So but we know that race, the component of race is what's on the outside, what you look like. That's the whole point of race.
Right.
That's it. You know what I mean? And say still you look black. you know what I'm saying?
Damn, I'm sorry, man. My
No.
my dog, my dog's over here farting, man. He's killing me right now. She about like two and a half feet away from me. It's like, God darn, man, really? Yeah,
Throw her get out there. Just Putin. Just Putin. Probably got the
yeah.
door closed, everything, man. Yeah, man.
But yeah,
Just
Sage still.
disrespectful dog.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Sage still, man, it is here again another problematic person, POC, right?
Mm-hmm.
that if you put them in a lineup and nobody knew who they were, you know consciously how they were I would identify you. You know it.
Right, right. How
To
another individual would identify you.
right.
Yeah,
To
right.
sit here
Yeah,
and
yeah.
pretend as otherwise, it's ridiculous. I ain't blaming Couture, man. I ain't look. If I
I was
ain't
telling you,
nobody in the room
she
with
said, why
me.
you blaming you blaming Couture?
Ain't nobody in the room with me. If I'm going to let it go, I'm going to let it go.
Yeah, 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 man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the problem. It's the problematic thing that's going on, and it's the Candace Owen, phenomenon with a lot of these people.
Yeah, man. Like bringing that up, like how you choose to identify is how you choose to identify, especially
Hmm.
for people who are bi. I refer to them as bi ethnic, not biracial. But those people who are bi ethnic, you know what I'm saying, or and quote unquote biracial, how they choose to identify, that's on them. Sage, you could have just been like, look, this is how I choose to identify. And then in closed book, done.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But you had to throw the jab in there about black people. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You just
yeah.
had to do that. You just had to
Y'all ain't got no
put out,
daddies.
yeah, man, put out that myth of black fathers, man. You know what I'm saying? Put out that myth out there about black fatherhood.
Yep, yep.
And we all know, like you said, for the Candace Owens thing, it's for a certain audience. It's for a certain
Hmm.
group of people who already have these beliefs, these stereotypes, and it's for them.
Yeah,
It's not for anybody, anybody who she relates to, right? Other quote unquote biracial individuals. You know what I'm saying? And so it was just. Man, all I did was just shrug my shoulders, like, here we go,
yeah,
here goes
yeah,
stage steal again. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? We already traded her. Yeah,
yeah.
we can get up
Yeah,
out of here.
I felt the same way, and yeah, I think the week before last, like they were
Hmm.
dragging Brianna Joy Gray through the
Hmm.
mud,
Hmm.
and it's these people that are they made it, they made it.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
got money, and
Hmm.
so now because you got money, you can you have more freedoms, so you can
Hmm.
say what you want. You're in the space where um, your money is technically your identifier
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
first,
Hmm.
and the people that look like you don't have that.
Hmm. Hmm.
They walk in a room because they're poor and so forth. They're getting judged strictly off their skin. That's it,
Yeah, yeah,
straight
yeah.
from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, man. Unfortunately, that's just the country and the world
Yeah,
that we live in. You know what I mean? Again, race is not real.
yeah.
It's a social construct. Um, you know, but the Breonna Joy thing, like I can understand some of the criticism. Because sometimes I'm like, yeah, Brianna, look, I'm not going to agree with or form alliances with people who don't like me. I'm just not going to do that simply, based on the
Right.
color of my skin. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to do that. You know what I'm saying? But I understand where she's coming from. You know what I mean? Where, hey, if you're looking to change systems and things of that nature, because it did happen, right? If you know about the black people in the populist movement, black people had to join alliances with Europeans who didn't like them. You know what I'm saying? But everybody was like, hey, look, man, we got to make some money, and these. All these corporatists that's in the Democrat and the Republican Party, they're joining alliances based on economics. So we need to do the same thing because, like you're saying, being poor, what I mean, being poor and skin color shouldn't matter. So I kind of understand where she's coming from, from a historical aspect of
Well,
that.
I pretty much heard the whole interview,
Hmm.
and at first I felt the same way, right?
Hmm.
So, but where I got off the train
Hmm.
is after she asked the person who was in the interview, which was
Mm-hmm.
white Jewish lady.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're asking a white Jewish person to, you know, basically befriend a
A
Nazi,
bigot.
a
Yeah.
neo-Nazi person,
Why?
and thinking that that is ever going to benefit her. It's no
Right.
historical context that says that will change.
Right. Right.
So where everybody started to drag Brianna was she asked the Jewish lady, those questions, and saying, should we, find some common ground, and so forth, so
Mm-hmm.
forth.
Mm-hmm.
And once the lady gave her stance and saying, hey, we tried this already.
Right.
We,
Right.
we,
Right.
we tried this in history already numerous of times, not one time,
Right.
numerous of times.
Right.
And they will never change this. And she brought up, the fact of like, why do you think like people now today are riding around with Confederate flags?
Yeah.
Like they will never ever change.
It's not
It's
going to
nothing
change, man.
that you will
When
do.
you give up power like that, man.
Yeah.
When you yeah.
So
And
her third comment, Brianna went back to the same original thought. And she
mm-hmm.
kept driving that same thought. And that is why people was dragging her through the week. It's
Mm-hmm.
because she was making the argument for neo-Nazis rather than
Right.
saying, hey, I get your point, and maybe if I speak to someone who brung this information to me, I can then say, hey, well, maybe you guys need to change the way that you think about things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she also had made the same comment to I can't remember the black author, like where he was like, she's like, hey, maybe we need to. He's like, no,
Yeah,
no, why? Why? Because you would end at the end of the day, you would end up giving up too much power.
yeah,
You would have to, they're not going to change. They're not
yeah,
going to change. So why
yeah,
are you worried about? Just go get, somebody's, who you can, affect. These individuals, you just don't,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, man.
It's still the reason why you got Joe Manchin being a Dixiecrat, right?
Right,
You,
right,
you know
right,
what I'm
right.
saying?
Hmm.
Like he will never change.
He's not going to change, man. He's not going to change. Yep.
Like, Biden surprised some of us a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, but he didn't really surprise us. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
he also still has some of his old ways.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
If you just call it, balls and strikes.
yeah.
It,
I mean, he's
and
70, then his
he's seven,
late
right?
70s. He ain't changing. I mean, at this
He,
point, he ain't changing. He's willing to accept some things, but
yes,
and know, and he still has the wits about him to know when he needs to be quiet on some stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. But yeah, man. All right, man. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up though. All right, man. Any last words, bro?
No, man, it's gonna be a good week, man. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, man. Go birds, man. Hey, it's gonna be, man, that offense was horrible, man. It's gonna be, man, that was, and we got the Buccaneers on Thursday, so,
Yeah,
ah,
yeah.
my gosh, man. Oh man. So hopefully we can do something with Tom Brady and that, man. Yeah.
As long as we make it a
But I
game.
still think the Eagles can pull it off. Eagles
Yeah,
can win. As long as we make it a game, man. It's
yeah.
like the Chiefs. We play the Chiefs. Like, hey, look, as long as we make it a game,
That's it.
it's not about winning. We don't have the talent to win. You know what I mean? As long as we make it a game. And it's the same thing. Like, look, man, we just don't have the talent like on defense to slow them down. Well, I think we do actually have the talent to slow them down, especially with Slay, covering Mike Evans,
Yeah, yeah,
and then everybody else taking care of the other three, and then the run game's going to be the run game, but it's just the offense. Whether the offense can,
you know,
the offense should be able to move the ball and score some points.
you
But
know
we'll
when we
see.
got those 2 turnovers, man, we were in man coverage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
haven't
That's what.
played man coverage until this game.
Oh, you
Yeah,
know. Again, man, that's why I said, man, Sirianni, he
yeah,
wants to run something.
Okay.
on defense. He just don't have the horses to run. So I think he's just making a case for it in the offseason. You know, when he go to Howie, like, look, I tried to run this and I tried to run that, but these are the personnel you left me with. You know, so yeah. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
I don't know if I'm going to give him that because listen to some of the announcers, man. He runs a too high, two safety
Mm,
zone,
mm,
and just about every defensive coordinator literally came out just like they did with uh, what was the last defensive coordinator, Jim Swartz.
mm.
They knew what he was going to run, so they just picked him apart, and it wasn't hard to misread. Um, our defensive coordinator this year, and that's where the problem at. In this game, he changed it up.
Yeah, he did. He did change it up this game. He did. So we'll see. We'll see if I mean, he's
We'll
gonna
see.
have to change it up. He can't just sit back and just do the same thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah, it's just like Sirianni. Like, okay, man, like, look, we get it. We get it. You're just taking what the defense give you. You know, side to side. But you got
yeah,
to take a shot or do something different,
yeah,
man. You
yeah.
this is it's ridiculous, man. But yeah, man. Yeah, man. All right, man. So we gonna be out here, man. We're probably looking to slow things down, kind of wrap up, for the year. November. Probably have one more show. In November. So we can do like a little reset, and so that we can be able to bring some better experience, better experience, more better
Yeah.
content, man. So so don't be looking for anything too much, but not saying that nothing won't happen, just saying
Right.
don't be expecting it. We'll probably drop some information, in the Facebook group and things of that nature. But always remember to go to our YouTube, man. Like, share, subscribe, find us on wherever you get your podcasts at. And go there and like our podcast and stuff, so we can beat the algorithm that they trying to hold us down, man. we
Yes.
got we got to beat the algorithm. we got to beat the algorithm, man. But it's all good, man. But anyway, hey, I hope everybody out there, man, have a great week. Enjoy your Columbus Day, or Indigenous Peoples Day, as it should be called.
Hmm.
You can go practice being Columbus. Go take something that somebody else has, man. Yeah, but we out, man. Peace.
All right. Peace.